Hey guys, it's Nye here and welcome to my channel. If you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button below. And if you're an oldie but a goodie, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be talking about how to communicate effectively in relationships and really overall in life. Okay, so we all know that communication is like the #1 problem in relationships, right? Every time you're talking to one of your friends and you explaining what your significant other did wrong, we always say things like, well girl, all you got to do is communicate. Did you communicate to him how you feel? Were you guys communicating? Make sure you communicate. We all tell each other to communicate all the time, but no one ever talks about how to communicate and how to communicate effectively. So the truth about communication is that you're always communicating. It's happening all the time. It's happening right now. I ain't even gotta say nothing. I could just be like, yeah, roll my eyes. Everything that you do counts and it matters. So if you're preparing yourself to communicate to someone, it shows up in how you're acting before you even open your mouth. We've all been there. It's time to talk to our significant other and he or she got an attitude. They slouch down in the chair, they looking around, they looking at their phone, not paying attention. Ladies, we rolling our eyes, shaking our heads. That's not an effective way to communicate, but you're already saying, I don't want to be bothered with this and I don't care, nor do I like what you're saying, without opening your mouth. So those are things that you want to continue to be mindful of. Right, so the thing about communication is that we've all learned how to communicate from watching our parents communicate with each other. Now, for some of us, that could have been our mom and dad communicating with each other, maybe your mom and your stepdad, or maybe your stepdad and your mom, or maybe it was your grandparents, or whoever your guardians were. Whoever those people who had the biggest influence on our lives, that's who we watch communicate with each other. And even more so on a deeper level, we learned how to love by watching them love each other. Sometimes what we mistake for love and effective communication is the things that we saw our parents do with each other. And a lot of those times it's not real love and it's not the correct way to communicate, but that's what we know because that's what we watched. Now ask yourself, does the way I communicate in any way resemble the way my mother communicates with my father, or my father communicates with my stepmother? Ask yourself those questions, and I guarantee you it probably does. Most of us communicate a certain way our whole life without ever knowing or thinking about why. Why do I communicate this way? Why do I have such a bad attitude when this happens to me? Why do I respond this way? We don't even take the time to pay attention to that. We just do it because it comes naturally to us because that's what we saw growing up. And a lot of times they were not communicating effectively, but we still took those same tools, the way that they communicated, and we used them to our disadvantage without ever even realizing it. So today I want to talk about how to communicate effectively. The first thing that you want to do is when you communicate with your spouse is that you want to go into the situation realizing we are on the same team. When I win, baby, you win too. And if you losing, guess what? I'm losing. A lot of couples, they sit down and have a conversation and guess what? It's about who's right, who's wrong, who's gonna win, who's gonna lose. Guess what, guys? If one of you guys lose, both of you guys lose. That's just what it is. And if one of y'all win, hey, y'all both win. So the goal is to understand each other effectively and to resolve the problem and to make sure both parties are heard equally. So you want to make sure that you're going into communication with the right attitude. You may be frustrated, you may be annoyed, irritated, all these things. So don't talk to your partner while you're upset. A lot of people say things like, oh, you want to solve your issues before you go to bed. I don't really believe that that's the case all the time. Sometimes you need to sleep it off, blow off some steam, and talk to that person the next day. I know for me, I work really early in the morning. So if I'm annoyed with my husband at 10:30, 11 o'clock, I'm not prepared to have this long, extensive conversation about what happened and I'm annoyed and all this and that. No, I'm going to just sleep it off. I'm going to talk to you tomorrow. And chances are my head's going to be clear and I'll be in the right state of mind to have that kind of conversation with you. So if you're annoyed, you want to make sure you take a little step back or say, you know what, give me some time. And that's one thing, once again, my husband had to teach me. I was the kind of person, I got mad, I want to talk about it right now. Let's do it. And he'd be like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And I'm like, no, I want to talk about it right now. Then eventually I realized talking about it later is actually the best way because now my head's a little clearer. So that's one thing you want to make sure you're doing. Make sure you have a clear head, a clear mind when you're ready to sit down and talk. And the next thing is, make sure you present yourself as if you're trying to understand a situation. You ain't got to be sitting like this, you know, like you in class, but sit with the right attitude. Lean in just a little bit. Give her that look. No, okay, I'm just playing. But make sure you're sitting upright with the right kind of posture, because a lot of people, like I said, you're paying attention and you're looking at the nonverbal cues. And if you see that somebody is slouched over and not paying attention, you're not going to want to talk to them because you feel like this person is not on your team. So I need you to be on my team and work with me. Work with each other. Give that person a support verbally and non-verbally so that they know you're paying attention to them and you are ready to hear them. Okay, another thing that we do that is not effective, when our partner starts talking to us, we zone out. We start thinking about what they did wrong, how we gonna tell them what they did wrong when it's our turn to talk, and our complaints. That's all we got. We ain't really worried about what they're saying, why they feel the way they feel. We're not listening and paying attention. We're listening to respond. We're not listening to understand. That is a very important thing, ladies and gentlemen. You want to listen to understand your partner. Have some compassion for what they're saying. Okay? So the next thing you want to do after you listen to understand, you want to mirror. You want to mirror what they have said to you. You want to literally take all the things they said to you and paraphrase them and repeat it back to them. That way you are letting them know, I heard you. I got you, baby. I heard the message. I understand completely why you're upset. I understand why you feel that way. The next thing we want to do is validate them. This is very, very important. You want to make your partner feel like what they have to say is important. How they feel is important, and I understand how important that is to you. A lot of times we don't want to validate and we miss the whole validation stage because we feel like if we're validating the way they feel, it's an admission of guilt. And it's not. It's simply saying, I can understand why you feel the way that you feel. This was a big thing for me in my marriage. I would tell my husband something, he'd be like, well, I don't agree with that. And I'm like, how you gonna tell somebody you don't agree with their feelings? This is my feelings, bro. But we got past it because he learned how to validate me, and it's not him saying I'm so wrong and you're so right. It's him telling me that he understands how I feel, and for me, that was everything. The next part about communicating effectively is the way you respond to the message that you hear. So a lot of times our spouse, significant other, they tell us something that we don't like. We feel like we're being criticized. We feel like we're being attacked. How can he or she say these things about me when I've done this? Okay? Just because you've done all this and you've invested so much into the relationship doesn't make you perfect. It's perfectly normal and natural for your partner to still find faults in you, for you to still make a mistake every now and then, for you to still do something wrong. That's perfectly normal and that's perfectly okay. Make sure you validate their concerns and make sure you let them know that how they feel is important to you. And it's really out of sign of respect. So you may not want to hear what they have to say, but if you want to communicate effectively and be on the same team, because remember, marriage is a team, you want to be on the same team with them, you'll learn to work through the problems and not take everything as a personal attack on your character. So, when you communicate, you don't want to make your partner the subject of what you're saying. So if your partner embarrassed you, your partner did something that you didn't like, you want to say things like, earlier today, we were having that conversation with your mom, you guys talked about X, Y, and Z, and it was embarrassing for me. That way, you're not accusing the other person of being embarrassing. You're not saying you are an embarrassing person, because then you're attaching embarrassing to that person and making that a part of who they are and making that a part of their identity. And when people feel like you're attacking who they are, that's why they get defensive. So one of the ways to avoid that is just really paying attention and being aware of the way you say things and how you put it into words. Now, for some people, unfortunately, no matter how you say it or how you do it, they gonna get mad. They gonna get offensive. And what I want to say to you guys who get mad, who get offensive, you gotta watch the way you respond to you gotta watch the way you respond to what is being said to you. And that's something that you want to question. If you get angry, if you get mad every time your spouse comes to you and tells you something that is wrong, there's some other issue going somewhere else that you need to tap into and figure it out. You shouldn't go crazy because your wife comes and tells you, hey honey, can you put the toilet seat down? That shouldn't turn into a whole huge argument, and if it does, there's a deeper issue going on, and that's something that you guys are gonna have to tackle together. Okay guys, so that is my little lesson of the day about communication and communicating effectively. Thank you so much for your time and watching my video. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, follow me on Instagram. I know I just said a whole lot, but I'm gonna need all of that. All right guys, see you next time.